Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome to Season 11 of Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup. We have 6 rounds in store for you this season as we take inspiration from the PESC Qualifier Series hosted by iRacing, and we'll be visiting each of the circuits, the first of which is Hockenheim Ring, the host for round 1 of the championship. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Aaron Smith, Smooly Kumo, bringing you this broadcast on Apex Racing TV. And Aaron, you are familiar with this championship. You commentated on Season 9, of course, which was an absolutely epic championship. Gabriel Salomon managing to win on that occasion. And we start this very short schedule, but one that should offer a lot of excitement for the drivers.
Yeah, it's Porsche Cup. It's always going to provide fantastic racing. It's, like you said, only a short season that we're doing. And, well, I'm certainly happy that we are back, that I can actually commentate on these, because I believe for Season 10, you guys did it in the studio. Couldn't believe it. I absolutely loved Season 9 throughout the entire season. I genuinely would recommend everyone watching this at some point to go and check out some of the highlights that we have posted here on Apex Racing TV of that series. It was just amazing every single round. And like you said, Salomon, someone who before that season we'd never really heard of, just burst on and absolutely schooled the rest of the field. Will we get anyone like that today? Well, it will be certainly interesting heading into this series. And also, like we've mentioned a couple of times, PESC is not too far away now.
Yeah, just a couple of days away, and this is brilliant prep for a couple of the drivers. We have got a PESC driver from last season in the championship, Parker White, is taking part this season with an iRacing of 10,637. There he is, Parker White, up on screen. So yeah, he should be very, very strong out there, should Parker. Dalton Zavadil as well will be competitive for Fiercely Ford. They are currently the top 2 in qualifying. Bit of a unique qualifying compared to what we usually do in Apex Racing League, because it's just an 8-minute qualifying, 2 laps, basically to replicate what the conditions will be like on Saturday. So nice and quick, and all these times will come in very quick, and they all very much matter.
Yes, why we're getting a fair decent amount of sign-ups this season, just because it does prepare everyone for this weekend. And like you mentioned, Parker White, obviously one of the favourites, and I mean, an iRacing figure that most of us could only dream of. It's over double my iRating, which is, I can't even imagine. I do not want to know the pain and suffering he went through to get that 10,600 iRating. Honestly, the sweat, blood, and tears this man has gone through to get that far. Will he be able to prove how much that iRating matters out on track? Well, let's find out as he comes around the final corner. Short layout here, the National A Hockenheim ring, and goes to the top, nearly 2/10 ahead of Costa. That's a pretty good banker lap so far. And I believe that's him done for the day in qualifying already. Like you said, only 2 laps for these guys.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. Pascal Costa still got to put in his second lap. Great effort there from Joseph Dimbolo. We have got the 3 classes for this season. We've got the Pro, the Pro-Am, and the Am. There aren't many Pro drivers because all the Pro drivers are really, really good. It's like, imagine the Pro-Am is basically the level of the Pros, usually, and then the Pro is like an elite. And so you got some terrific drivers, like White, who's a former PES driver. Last season's champion was Philip Hammer. So he's another Pro driver. Igor Kos, former Pro-Am champion. Corey Lazarus was runner-up in the Pro Championship last season. Pascal Costa, I think, has won the championship in the past, certainly won races before. And so it is an insane level that we've got as Costa goes to the top. And Hammer somehow slots himself in the tiny gap between
3.
Costa and White. And that is probably the closest top 3 we've ever had in Apex Racing League history.
Yep, I 100% agree with you on that. And, well, I mean, it is a shorter layout than it usually is, but it's still about 1 minute 25, as you can see there. So it's not overly short in terms of Porsche Cup times, but I mean, that is incredible. All the top 3 separated by less than 100th. I mean, honestly, Formula 1 could dream of getting those kinds of numbers. Any series, honestly, that is very, very close, and it bodes well heading into the first few races. It means that we've got a nice compact field, at least in the top 5. And well, speaking of top 5, Dimbolo, we saw him a little bit. Well, I remember him at the end of season 9. He kind of just came in for the last few races and did very, very well. And he's slowly making progress. And honestly, I think Dimbolo could be one to watch this season. As there's Bernard crossing the line, going 16th, about halfway through our grid. But Dimbolo, just keep an eye on him, and I'm, already debating, considering what I've seen from this man before, should he be in Pro? I know his iRating is a little low compared to everyone else, but I don't know. He's got some speed on him.
Well, last season he was in the Pro category, and I actually, in our pre-season picks, I picked him to win the Pro Championship. However, he let me down, and he unfortunately had a bit of a mare of a season, particularly the start of the season. Struggled to Dimbolo. He did get stronger results. I think he got a couple of podiums near the end of the championship. But yeah, I think is probably the favourite for the Pros. I mean, Lane, very experienced driver, took part in season 1 of this championship back in 2020. So he will be threatening Ben Pedersen, who won the amateur championship last season. He's up there in 11th place. I think he'll be one of the favourites. And many other new drivers, including this man, Damir Makamutov, as he crosses the line, and he manages to get himself about halfway up the grid in that.
Yeah, some drivers. I mean, this is almost a one-shot qualifying session, isn't it? You do not really have that many opportunities to set a good lap time, but, it can shake up the grid fairly nicely. And, well, considering they haven't got much time, it's absolutely sensational that the grid is fairly close. And it would be closer if we had just a few more laps for these guys to go qualifying. But, well, speaking of qualifying, that's the end of it. And, well, we're heading straight into the first heat.
Yeah, so for this format, we've got 2 heats. Half the field going to heat 1, half the field going to heat 2. And then it's the top 7 who go straight from each heat into the A final. The rest go into the B final. And then the top 4 go through from the B final to the A final. So it should be 18 cars in the A final, and about 15 drivers will miss out on the A final. So that is the format. Costa on pole position then, ahead of Parker White. Then it's Joseph Dimbolo and Lee in 4th position. We'll get that name by the end of the season for Lee. Then it's Salvatore Lane in 5th place. Then it's Pedersen, Kos, Van Hout, Smart, Makhmutov, Plesher, Walker in 12th. Top of the amateurs is Michal, then it's San Miguel, Jones, Lorenzato and Maldonado, our lowest iRated driver. In this field, there is a split of about 9,800 iRating.
I'm just trying to practice Lee's name. I believe it's Xiaofei Li. I believe. I honestly probably butchered that really badly. Xiaofei, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think we've gotten it. We try our best, to learn everyone's names to our best of our abilities, but we'll get them right by the end of the season. Hopefully, we've only got about a month or two to get it right,
yeah.
So plenty of time.
Welcome to everyone in chat, by the way, who is supporting drivers. Fabi Snow supporting Bitterop. He's not in this Heat 1, but he will be in Heat 2 later on. And Dana supporting Ivan out on circuit. I don't think Ivan Maldonado probably. He is not taking the grid so far. He is the one driver we're waiting for, but he is now onto the grid. Or no, he's not on the
he's
grid.
Left again.
I don't know what's going on with Maldonado. We'll see what happens. 5-minute lights are about to come on to start this opening round of the championship at Hockenheim in Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup. And away we launch. It's a great start for the pole sitter. In fact, the top 4 all getting in line. There might be a move there for Dimbolo, perhaps trying to make some progress. In fact, that was actually Lane trying to get past Pedersen, I believe. And Pedersen actually did get past Lane in that spin in the background. That's Ryan Walker going into the inside wall. But the top few drivers being very patient in these first few corners.
Oh, got a car there in the middle of the track, and that's caused some other drivers behind. That's Van Hoot, who went into the middle of the track, and Maldonado gaining a few places there from the back of the pack, now up to 12th place. He's done really well off the start, and that's a car round on the exit of Parabolica. That's a very weird place to spin. That's Lorenzato falling all the way down the order, all the way to the back. He's now in 17th place. Yeah, well, we'll have 9 minutes to catch back up to the rest of the field, but, in these short heat races, you've just got to keep it on the track, and you'll probably end up getting a decent result. Top 7 going through in each heat tonight, and then the top 4 from the consolation later on. So we will have 18 drivers in the final heat. Who's it going to be in this first heat getting into that top 7? Well, so far it's Costa in the lead of this race. Parker White is piling on the pressure though. Dimblo just about hanging on in 3rd place to the slipstream of White in front, but he's definitely starting to build up a bit of a train behind. But can Dimbolo stay in this top 3 position? That will be very, very crucial points. And well, I picked him for my favourite, winning the Pro-Am like you did, Sam, and well, top 3 in his first race. So I think that would be a good way to start the season.
It would be a very good way to start the season. G is putting him under a lot of pressure, but he's just made a little bit of a break of it now through turn 1, as Makhmutov has got past Plesher. That's for P9, that's into turn 2, which might be one of the bets for overtaking spots. Usually you'd look to the hairpin, but we're using the alternative layout. Oh, big side for Makhmutov, and that is Rally. Took too much curb on the inside. I wonder maybe if that's how we saw that other driver, Lorenzato, spin earlier on. But Makhmutov losing any small chance that he had of getting to the top 7 in this heat, and he just needs to recover as many places as he can from here on in.
Yeah, it's such a mindset blow when you have that kind of mistake or an incident with another driver. That's very deep from the number 9 as San Miguel just has to try and avoid, as that's Maldonado going very, very deep and making contact there with San Miguel, as San Miguel does go up the inside eventually. I think Maldonado really struggling in this early part of the race as he falls down to 16th place. I don't think he's quite on the pace here at the moment. I'm sure Lorenzato will probably get past him at some point. But apart from just a few incidents, it's been relatively clean. I think just the bottom 5 or 6 drivers maybe having a couple incidents. Here's another one. That's Jones, I believe, going very slowly on the outside. Not sure if he's picked up damage or possibly a slowdown somewhere, as he was going very, very slowly coming through the stadium section. As we now head on to lap 3 of this fairly short heat race. And well, it's still as you were. Costa's still leading White up at the top. And Dimbolo's actually managed to gap himself a little bit from Lee. So he's kind of just in a nice pocket of space where he can just kind of chill for a little bit. He's got a second in front to Parker, to White. And then he's got about another 1.3 seconds to Lee back. So Dimbolo in a very, very comfortable position at the moment.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Lee's dropping back the way that he is, because on lap 1 he looked really racy, didn't he? And of course he is a pro driver, got a very good iRacing, has Lee, nearly 7k. But yeah, he's looking slower if anything than Pedersen and Co. At the moment, as Koss does a bit of a Tony Hawk over the curb right there. Also, would like to say, amazing to have such a diverse field. We've actually got 5 different regions of the world represented in the top 5 drivers at the moment, which is pretty cool. So yeah, fantastic how international this championship is, and in particular this Heat 1, as here comes Koss going for a bit of a mugging.
Oh.
You do sometimes see it at this penultimate corner. Lane didn't need to leave him any more room than he had to, and yeah, Koss felt the brunt there, so remains in P7.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a desperate dive bomb, you could say, there from Igor Koss, just thinking, I've got to get ahead of this guy, I just need to, and got a bit desperate into those final few corners and nearly pulled it off, to be fair, but just went a little bit too deep and ended up making contact. But Igor Koss looking very racy. Of course, we are fairly familiar with him in this series. He's been here a couple of times, fairly speedy driver, so I expect him to get past Lan at some point, as Lee going very defensive. He's really struggling for pace, you know. He's now 2 seconds behind Dimbolo. I don't know if maybe he picked up some damage or is just completely lacking confidence in this early part of the race. I mean, I've always said in the heat races, you kind of have to go a bit passive, but Lee going, you know, not at the pace that we would expect at the moment. He's dropping back from the top 3 very rapidly.
He is, yeah, and considering he was so close in qualifying as well, he's only a couple of tenths off pole position. He's lapping about a second slower than Costa and White at the moment, so is unusual, but he's doing enough to hold on. Koss, meanwhile, yeah, Koss really close to Lane. Didn't go for the mugging. No, he did go for the mugging.
He did.
Or did
again.
Or maybe Lane went wide. I'm not quite sure, but it works either way. And he's up into 6th position. And it's now Lane right on the cut. And Kieran Smart is catching up to these guys. Pleasure has to come to the pits. Now that could be an incidence limit thing.
Probably, yeah.
Or it could be fuel. You may have put the quality stat on.
Well, we're about to find out as he comes into the pits. Is it going to be a short stop, or is he going to have to serve a long old penalty?
If it was instance, it'd just be a drive-through. So it's definitely...
Yeah, it would.
Maybe fuel that he needs.
Could be, yeah. But either way, bit of a mistake. And yeah, I think it is fuel. That was a really short pit stop. Could have also been damage, but it is more likely fuel. Like you said, here's a little battle we've got going on for 13th place between... for 12th place between Walker and Jones. Fairly close battle between these two. They've got a fairly big gap out in front, and also a little bit of a gap behind us. Walker going extremely deep. I'd be very surprised if Jones doesn't pounce on this opportunity, but he chooses not to. Jones being very passive. I wonder if he just doesn't want to pass Walker at all, and it's just letting him know, I'm not going to fight you. I just want to make it through to the consolation in a decent position, and so I can start fairly high. It's entirely possible, but it's been fairly clean so far, like I said, apart from a few incidents. And, well, up at the top, it's been a little bit dry, you say, everyone being a bit cautious, everyone just taking it nice and easy for these first few races, I imagine. And then once we get into the feature race, I think that's when things will truly start to kick off, and people will go for those little bit more optimistic moves. But at the moment, I believe Pascal Costa could be coming home to a fairly easy first victory of the season on the first race of the season, unless Parker White can maybe turn it up a notch over these next few laps, or maybe he's saving something for that last lap, as some drivers tend to do.
Yeah, and I think as maybe later on as well, they'll be pushing for overtakes. But I think lap 1 as well, or at least off the race start, is a great chance. But everyone just nailed the race start in the top sort of 3 rows of the grid, and there really weren't too many opportunities. But Costa Mu picking up a 1x there, but he'll be fine with that. They are limited to 17 of them, but in such a short race, that should not be much of an issue. He is losing a little bit of time now to White, who edges closer and closer. Of course, White, who managed to qualify for PESC last season, got through from the qualifiers and then into the Contender Series. And I think was one of the highest scoring drivers in the Contender Series. I think he finished 2nd in that championship. Was really impressive. Unfortunately, couldn't keep his license, so will have to re-qualify later on in the year. Won't be taking part in the qualifiers because he gets a berth straight into the contenders, but still feeling like he wants a little bit of practice in this championship.
just something I've been thinking about. Is this... I mean, it hasn't come up, obviously, but could this be white flag? I think they're cutting it extremely close. So
Yeah.
here is Lee finally under a little bit of pressure after he has really fallen back from the top three. Dimbolo has fallen back from white, but still putting on some decent amount of pressure. As Pedersen, the Aussie, really trying to get up into fourth place. Every single point will matter in this championship. Lee getting nice and late on the brakes. Is it going to be too late, though? As that's a tap behind from Igor Kos into Pedersen. A little bit more contact, but that is surely going to be a slam dunk penalty for Igor Kos as he ran straight into the back of Ben Pedersen. As Igor Kos now overtakes. That's Lani that he's now gotten ahead of. He's up into fifth place. But so you do have to say that was a bit of lack of awareness there from Igor Kos to read the drivers in front, see that they were checking up a little bit into the corner. I think Ben Pedersen was trying to get the switchback on Lee, but Kos just didn't read the situation, unfortunately tapped the back of Pedersen, and that sent Pedersen, crucially, outside of the top 7.
Out in front, you're absolutely right, Aaron. It was the last lap, and Pascal Costa starts off his season with the perfect beginning. He beats out Parker White. Kos comes into the pits. He must have breached the instant limit, or has he just crashed in the pit lane?
He's not taking the flag. He's
completely
he's completely gone.
I don't know what he was doing in the pit lane there.
No.
I mean, if he did breach the instant limit, then he couldn't have served it on the last lap. But that's a misconception a lot of drivers have, that you can serve it on the last lap, but you absolutely cannot. So yeah, disappointing way for his race to end. I think he did have I'm trying to look at the instant limit, and yeah, he did breach the instant limit, so he would have had to have served a penalty. I mean, to be fair, it would have been a 40-second post-race penalty, which would have put him down to 16th. So he's going to lose out to Maldonado as like even worse, but it would have been 16th or 17th one.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate for Kos, but like I said, you know, it's kind of his own doing. Let's be honest, you know, just went way too deep into that corner.
I mean, yeah,
now that I think about it, is he really going to get a penalty? He's kind of just hurt himself with that. So does he need any more punishment?
I don't know. Well, the stewards will review it post-race and see what penalty is warranted. But yeah, like, why would you go for that move if you're on the instant cusp, right? Like, you don't want to have any risk of a 4X, especially with the format that we have for this series. He will struggle to get through from the B final. One of our best drivers on the grid, honestly. Philip Hammer then on pole position, the defending champion, looking to start his season on a high. Then it's Dalton Zavadil in second. Bernardo Faria, who also managed to advance to the contenders last year. He's a regular whenever we do this format, so best of luck to him, the Brazilian. Then it's Lazarus in fourth place, and then it's Jan Bol, Boris Bitsarov in his first ever race, but top of the avances for this grid. Then it's Strand, Bernand, Swan, McBride, Frick, Stodal, Dobitz, Bjorkland, Walsh, and Gilmore. Rounding out the 16 drivers, as already the lights are starting to illuminate this Hockenheim circuit, and race 2 of the evening is about to get underway, and it's another strong start for our front row of the grid. Looks like Zavadil will be able to take the racing line. Behind them, Strand trying to get past Bol. That looks positive for him, but Bol actually carrying a decent amount of speed on the outside, so top 4 sprinting away, but behind that it is very racing.
Yeah, I think luckily this car is fairly easy to launch off of the line compared to some other cars that you do see standing starts from. So I don't think we'll see too many drivers mucking up the start too many times this season, but we might get the occasional man just slipping up a few times. But still, another very clean start. This is cleaner than the first race we had. Literally no incidents so far. As I say that, that's Bitter Alf going way too deep, trying to take the alternative layout, and that's also Bernard going very deep, keeping it on the track though. But Bitter Alf, I don't know where on earth he was going, genuinely trying to take the old Hockenheim layout, and I mean the one from about 30 years ago. Honestly, I have no idea where he was going, but he's fallen way down the order, and I don't think we'll be hearing from him for the rest of this race. He's really punched himself there But up at the top, it is still as you were from the start. Very, very clean racing, and that's what we like to see. And Porsche Cup usually can be fairly clean, but some drivers maybe just getting the elbows out do tend to spoil racing a little bit. But on this first lap, fairly clean from everyone so far. It's still Hammer out in front, Zavidal not too far behind. You've got Bolt up in 5th place leading the Pro-Ams, and then Swan in 7th place. I don't think we had any AMs go into the final instantly on that first heat race, and that was too much curb there from McBride. No. There's a big incident there as well. Good save.
Yes, Stodal. I was initially thinking about the slowdown. It worked out a lot worse for Stodal, but he will drop behind Walsh and down to 14th place, albeit he'll try to fight that back. Bjorklund, by the way, up 6 places from his race start. Amazing start for Kimon J. Bjorklund. Sure, 1 or 2 of them fell off the road in front of him, but maybe Bitterov, I think, was the only one who fell off ahead. Is the onboard then with Stodal. There's going to be someone who spins in front of him. I don't know if that maybe put him off. Doesn't take a whole lot of curb. Maybe he should have taken more curb. Perhaps stay down. Maybe that's what unsettled the car. A couple of the guys behind did a good job at avoiding it.
Yeah, that was a really good save there from Stodal. It was the classic, just, hold on to the brakes, lock them up and hope for the best. And it worked out this time for the German driver. Managed to avoid everyone else and pulled up a sick drift in it, bruv, into turn 1. So I can't believe I've just said that, to be honest. But anyway, he managed to keep it on the track. That's how you always speak. To people who aren't aware, Aaron sort of puts on this guy, so he's a very well-spoken person. But honestly, the amount of in-its that he says off stream is enough for a lifetime, honestly. So it's because I'm from Essex. I can't help it. It's just how I talk. I don't want to speak like that, but it's just it's just melted into my brain, so I can't really help it, to be honest. And, well, I mean, I don't think on commentary it comes out too often. I try to stay well spoken and professional, but then off camera it's just in it, bruv, and all that stuff. So I probably should just stop talking, to be honest, and get back to the racing, because that's what matters, isn't it? But here's the battle for the top 10. Bernard getting a cheeky overtake round the outside. That was a fairly clean move down into the hairpin. This is some argy-bargy between the top 2. That was a very random send. Did not see this one coming at all. The 2 teammates, 2nd and 3rd at the moment, trying to put the pressure on Philip Hammer, as Farrier now trying to get up into 2nd place. These guys are 2 teammates. They do not want to come together at all in this heat race, but they have to watch out for Lazarus as well, as he's looking up the inside. So close to Farrier, but good read there from the New Zealander, and just about managed to avoid contact with the guys in front. But that was very unexpected, and I believe it was a send from Zavidal into that hairpin that kind of spiraled everything out of control. But everything still as you were, and Philip Hammer still somehow in the lead of this race.
Yeah, really good resistance there from Hammer. He could have so easily lost out. Of course, he was on the outside through the hairpin and had to make sure he kept a tight line and stayed alongside that next section, which does really work well for side-by-side racing. It sort of comes from one side to the other side, with it sweeping from left to right. So yeah, it was nice effort there. Zavadil still in 2nd place, and now has got a bit of catching up to do to get onto the back of Hammer. Farrier, he's one of the more aggressive drivers usually in this series. He might send it even on his own teammate this time. Not a chance, but you can see it gets very narrow down into that hairpin, and it's not a huge braking zone, at least compared to the other hairpin as well. So it is much more tricky to overtake on this layout. It makes qualifying much more important, and of course, considering that this sets the grid for the A final, makes this race very important as well.
Yeah, that's the thing about being in the 2nd heat, is you always know you basically have to kind of double your position wherever you finish. So if you finish 1st, you'll start 2nd. Finish 2nd, you'll start 4th. It is somewhat annoying being in the 2nd heat, as I do have some experience here on Apex Racing TV. I do think I was in a Porsche Cup season. I've completely forgotten what one it was, but it was all the way back in like 2020, 2021. I didn't do very well. I'm not that big fan of driving Porsches, to be honest. It is a skill issue, I know. But yeah, I could never get on well with the handling of Porsche Cups, and even some of the Porsches, I just don't like their engine. It just doesn't suit my driving style. I just don't like it. It's just too tail happy for my liking, but it's always an absolute honour seeing some of these guys like Farrier down into the hairpin on the last lap. honestly, the way that the car squirrels under braking, I'm just thinking to myself, how does this man keep that thing under control? Absolutely amazing car control, like these guys are doing right now, going forth into battle as they're going side by side. This is for 9th place, Bernard and McBride going wheel to wheel. Bernard just has a little bit of a car in front now. He's going to have the inside line into this next corner. Should be a slam dunk pass. Does push McBride a little bit wide, and McBride tries to keep on the outside, as that is Bjorklund going very deep into the hairpin as well. So he's kind of accidentally driven himself into this battle. And Bjorklund, I don't know if anyone followed the sports car championship we did about a month ago now, but Bjorklund really stepped it up there, and he was doing really, really well in that championship, and definitely want to see Bjorklund kind of translating that over to this series as well, as he does have the pace, but potentially just struggling in this early stages of the race.
Yeah, very competitive driver is Kim. He's up to 4.6k now. I think I remember when he was sort of in the 2k region, but has really worked hard in this Porsche Cup over the last few seasons to improve, and he's currently running P3 out of the Browns. Of course, an amazing start for him. Started this race in 14th, but against all 6 of those places on lap 1 of this event. But Bernard then is getting closer and closer, and this is his opportunity on the bigger braking zones on the track into turn 2, and he does move past. However, Bjorklund tries to get the cutback, and he'll try to line this one up for the hairpin at the end of the sort of abbreviated straight. Bjorklund had to get out of the throttle though as they head into the parabolica, and I doubt he'll find any success on that line. Bernard up into 8th position now.
Yeah, Bernard's doing fairly well. He's got a couple seconds to Swan in front. And I don't think, like I was mentioning earlier, I don't think we have any amateurs going into the A final yet. So Swan could be the first one, and a very good first race for him if he can do so. And a nice cheeky bit of points up in 7th place. Definitely can be proud of that performance so far, but it's not over yet. We are probably going to have about a lap left off this race, if the first race is anything to go by. As we head around the final corner, is Philip Hammer going to make it to the line in time? The white flag isn't out. I actually think this time... Oh no, the white flag is.
Yeah.
Never mind. There we go. I was about to say, maybe this time we might get an additional lap, but no. No, I was wrong. This is going to be the last lap. Last opportunity for everyone to get their last-ditch overtakes in. And why do I sense the feeling that a certain American in 2nd place is going to send it down into this next corner?
It feels very realistic, doesn't it? It could be an American 2-3 on the grid for the A final if Zavadil can pull off this overtake. Again, having to go the long way round. He might get his nose ahead mid-corner. And Hammer now needs to get his foot down, but it's a big slide for Zavadil. He really needs to keep it composed there. But now he's sent it back again. And now there's contact, and he's spun round. Now, can he recollect that car, recover as many places as he can? He tries to go for the move, did Dalton, but it has not worked out for him. He's lost 3 places from it, and Hammer will comfortably win this race from here.
Honestly, I had to mute my mic because I started coughing so bad from that save from Zavidal, but honestly, that was heartbreaking stuff. It was the smallest of taps, and he got sent round, and well, these Porsche Cup cars, you know, they are built for argy-bargy racing, but occasionally can be a little bit sensitive. And well, that's evidence of it right there as he's tumbled all the way down to 5th. He's going to have a difficult start to the feature race, but Philip Hammer will start on the front row in that feature race as he wins the 2nd heat race of this first day of racing, as Farrier gets the 2nd place, albeit probably should have been a 3rd, as it looked like he was quicker than his teammate at times, but just let Zavidal, you know, try to get the job done. And unfortunately for the American, it did not work out for him. Bowl gets the Pro-Am victory up into 4th place, and Swan, Luke Swan, take your hats off for this Australian. 7th place in an AM, that is a very, very good result, and one to be proud of, as he heads straight into the feature race. He will not have to contend with any consolation race at all. And well, that was some fairly good racing in that 2nd heat race, I've got to be honest. That was fantastic from start to finish, and we've still got 2 more to go.
Yeah, we've now got the B final, which is for all the drivers who didn't finish in the top 7 in their heats. And so we should have, well, we'll see how many drivers we have. Michal, though, on pole position. Then it's Bernard in second, Van Hout in third, Bjorklund, Makhmutov, McBride, Walker. Watch out for Walker. I think he could definitely get in the top 4. Frick, Jones, De Vries, Lorenzato, Walsh in 12th. Then it is San Miguel, Stodal, Plesher. Watch out for him as well. Gilmore, Maldonado, Bitterov, he'll be quick, and Koss in 19th place. Our one and only pro driver. It will be close whether or not he gets into the top 4. They are the positions that matter as we are about to start this first B final of the season. Michal from the pole, and away we launch. Just an awful start for Bernard from the front row of the grid. He's already lost 3 places. That's 3 wide for second place heading into turn 1. However, that was a smart move from Makhmutov to back out of it, and they all survived through their cost. Already up a few places in the background. He'll be charging them down in this 14-minute B final. Lockups for our 5th place man of Bernard, trying to recover some positions as they make their way through turns 2, 3 and 4.
Yeah, so honestly, that was a terrible start for Bernard, but he's still in this, of course, only down to 5th. Koss, like we mentioned, is going to have to be aggressive on these first few laps, get past everyone as soon as possible. Down into the hairpin we go for the first time. Doesn't look like anyone's had an incident so far. A lot of wheel-to-wheel action up and down the grid. And yes, it was very clean from everyone at the moment. So that's Van Hout going very, very wide, all the way down to 8th now. He's lost a few positions. Bernard is back up into 4th. Back up into those top 4 positions is crucial for some of these guys. And, well, especially for the pro drivers like Koss and some of the pro-ams as well, who expect to be fighting for championships this season. They have to make the best of this race, as they have to just get ahead of everyone as soon as possible, and you'll see people being aggressive in this race, more so than we've seen in the first 2 heats.
Yeah, speaking of being aggressive, Koss was getting past Plesher at Sachs corner, and now he's going to go for another move. That's the one where he was trying a lot of earlier on, and it did work eventually on Salvatore Lane, and it's worked that time on De Vries. He's up into 11th position. Oh, he's off now.
No.
He is off now. He wasn't fully clear, and he cut the line off. And he'll continue soldiering on, at least I hope he does, but any chance of the top 4 is surely over now, because he's some 10 seconds away from the spot that he needs to be in. Let's get a replay of it and try to identify exactly whose fault it was, because it seemed like he was clear out, but maybe with a poor exit, it allowed his rival to get back alongside.
Yeah, that was absolutely heartbreaking to watch. I think I'm going to have to get a different angle on that, because when I initially saw it, I didn't think Igor actually moved that much. It was actually the driver behind that seemed to try and tuck into the slipstream of Koss, but just kind of misjudged it. Let's have another look at it and see what actually happened. And this is the onboard with Koss. You see it from further behind. Bit of a difficult place to see it there. But, well, just judging from when I saw it, I think it was just a mix of both, maybe. Maybe Koss moved over a little bit, and I think it was Walker, the driver, who kind of moved over, and that was nearly a send for Bjorklund, heading down into the hairpin in the stadium section, as Adrian Michal had a fairly sizable lead off the start, but just started to fall back a little bit, seems to be struggling for pace. He is an amateur driver, let's not forget, nearly made it into the A final initially, but just missed out by 1 place in that first heat race. Still leading though, but definitely has got mountains of pressure from the drivers behind. I think this could be quite the entertaining race over the next 11 minutes.
Oh, here we go. Oh, and almost having to go for a move himself there was Bernard, but here comes Makhmutov trying to, apologies, this Makhmutov holding on to the position against Bernard. And this has just allowed this slight gap now between the 2 packs leading this race. And this is really good news for the top 2 drivers. Makhmutov again running a little bit wide, but he's doing enough at the moment. It's the number 16 to keep that podium place. Top 4 get through, remember, so McBride really will be chomping at the bit. And actually the top 2, battling amongst themselves, has dropped them back in. I thought they may have been able to make a break for it, but still, our top 6 are as close as they can be, as this perhaps might start getting a little bit personal between these 2. But Bernard is off the circuit. He'll almost hit the wall from out there, and he has a very small chance of progressing to the A final from here.
Yeah, that's the kind of mistake you do not want to be making. Everyone behind trying to check up and avoid Bernard as he comes back onto the track. Nearly identical to what Mika Hakkinen did almost 25 years ago, going very deep into that corner. And, well, luckily there's a lot of gravel out there, so he was actually a fair distance away from the wall, to be honest. But, oh, very squirrely there for Jones as he somehow managed to keep control of the car. He's going to lose 2 positions, I believe. Into turn 1 we go. That's incredibly close. And that's a car off. Who's
Bernard.
that? Is that Bernard again? And that's more contact, and that's costs.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh,
I think he'll
dearie
be
me.
turning after that.
Yep, that's absolutely heartbreaking for Igor Kos. He's had, well, an absolutely horrid day as this man, and oh, it's just gotten even worse for him. I didn't really see what happened to him, to be honest. It kind of just, everyone was just being very clumsy. Here's what happened to Bernard initially. Bit of an aggressive defense there from the car in front. And Bernard, I don't know if he was just caught offline a little bit. And yeah, I will say that was a very late move from Makhmutov. And I'm not sure I entirely agree with how late he moved under braking. Wonder what the stewards might say about that, as this is what happened later on to Ethan Bernard. Is it going to be another mistake? That's a lot of curb. And yep, just spins the car around, and his tyres are going to be absolutely cooked. Everyone tries to avoid him. Now Igor Kos just tries to put his car in a gap that didn't really exist.
Yeah, I think even Igor, after that, will accept, yeah, that was my bad on that one. Now 17 seconds away from the top 4. I mean, from the position he was in, if something had happened amongst these top guys, he could have perhaps squeezed his way through, but only just that is well and truly gone. Obviously, if he hadn't had either issue, I think he'd comfortably be able to catch up to these drivers, but still the top 6. And these are really the guys that really matter. Obviously, everyone else is scoring points as well, but it is so useful to get into the top 4, because if you can get into the top 4, then that just unlocks a whole lot more positions you can find in the A final. You might go up 10 places in the A final, but if you don't get into the top 4 in this race, you don't even have that opportunity. So it is so important. Still very few changes amongst these drivers. It's now McBride who is up into that P4 after the issues for Bernard. But he's got to fight against Frick and Van Hout, who I believe are in their first ever events in this series, in order to keep it.
Some of the AM drivers doing very, very well. And I mean, if it stays like this, we're going to have 3 AMs, I believe, in the A final, which I believe is more than we got for most of the season that I did in season 9, commentating over this series. So props to the amateur drivers today. They've all done themselves mostly proud, as Van Hout goes very wide through the second to last corner there. All of these guys are absolutely nose to tail. The top 6 separated by 1.5 seconds. And well, at the moment it's a little bit calm. Everyone's taking it a bit easy. I think they've kind of witnessed what's happened behind them, as Bernard, of course, was up into 3rd at one point and had that dreadful start.
All set.
And well, McBride losing the place there to Frick, who's now going side by side with McBride, and that was a bit of an unexpected send there down into turn 2. Nearly made it work, but now they're side by side all the way down this sort of straight. And there's a lock up in front.
Oh,
Who's
leader.
that's gone off? That's Bjorklund. No, it's not the leader, it's Bjorklund, who's had an absolutely massive lock up, and that's Frick as well, nearly going for a spin. And that has just dramatically changed the course of this race, as Bjorklund, the man who was piling on the most pressure, did he go for a send? I wonder. Into this corner he did, and just locked up a front brake and went straight to the scene of the incident. And well, I don't know how many times you've had to say this. I don't know if you've been here when I have said this, Sam, but it's a consolation race. The top 4 do not score points. It's just a grid position for the A final. So is there a need to be that aggressive? Just get your way through, get into the A final and wait for your opportunity there. I've said it time and time again, but drivers still go for the big sends anyway. I believe it was in Porsche Cup in season 9 where some drivers, I think it was at Road Atlanta, were being far too aggressive.
Legendary.
I remember that race very, very much, as we had, 6 drivers leading the race at one point, and all of them ended up crashing out because they were just being too aggressive. for just a couple grid slots.
Yeah, Tobias Olsen, I remember, was one of the drivers involved in that one, and yeah, that was a great race. But yeah, I think Bjorklund will be. Bjorklund's an experienced driver, and he will realise from that, oh, what was I thinking when he went for that move? If you're third or fourth, it makes sense because you need to get some cars between you and the cup, but it doesn't make sense when you're in the top two. Bjorklund and Walker, by the way, getting past Walsh, so they're up into 7th and 8th. We're running on board with Makhmutov, who I feel like has done a whole lot to gain places in this race, and yet he is up 3 places, but they keep on falling off the track in front of him, and he could win this race, but I think maybe after seeing the errors for the other drivers and realising that Frick is some 2.5 seconds away from him, he can afford to be passive and come home in 2nd place.
Well, we as sensible people think that, but then racing drivers typically want to win things. That's kind of why they come here. They all want to win, no matter if it's literally meaningless. And just for a few grid slots, they want to win. They want that bragging right as Makhmutov through that final corner. You can tell he's pushing. He wants this. And, well, he is looking like the quicker driver right now. I've got to say, is he going to go for a move down into turn 2? It very much looks like a possibility. He is right on the back of the Frenchman in the lead of the race, but just went very passive on the brakes. Still trying to look up the inside. Bit of contact between the two. I think Mikhail was just trying to cut off the nose of the Russian driver. Now we head down the somewhat straight as we head towards the Parabolica corner. Is anyone going to go for a big send? I believe Makhmutov is going to go for it down the inside, very late on the brakes. Is he going to get the car stopped in time? He can't, but Mikhail goes for a spin, and Mikhail is out now of the top 4, sorry, and he's tumbling down the order is the Frenchman. And it nearly worked for him, but just a tiny bit too much on the throttle. He spins the car around, and he is going to be, well, in tears probably. A first place slam dunk for him has just fallen away from his hands. It's, well,
I think that
his
was
own
contact.
fault.
I think Van Hout may have hit him, because I think Van Hout tries to get underneath him here.
Ooh.
And then he
you're
hits
right.
him. Yeah, so I think Van Hout might get a penalty for that potentially.
Yeah.
But that's not going to promote the driver that he hit up any places. It's not going to promote Mikhail up any places. So that means that Frick is back inside. I'm not sure actually if he was ever inside the top 4, Frick. Maybe for like half a corner. But yeah, he is comfortably inside there now. No one's Zanto, who spun at turn 4 on lap 1 of his heat. Well, he's been able to make his way up 6 places in this B final. And he finds himself in P5, but you would guess that there's not going to be any more collisions from here. Albeit the top 3 are still fairly close to one another. But it's another one of those scenarios where we were talking about it just a moment ago. And it does not matter where you are in the top 4 realistically. And yeah, some drivers have undone themselves. Koss has had another issue. And yeah, he's back down to 14th.
Yeah, not the way Igor Koss wanted to start his season whatsoever. His home track as well, Hockenheim. And,
well, he's got another home track, at least later on in the season.
Yes, that is true. Yes, that is true. He will have a redemption arc potentially later on in the season, but today it's very obviously not meant to be for Igor Koss, as he just lulls about in the bottom half of the order as he tries to get past Dan Jones, as these two go battle for 13th place. As Bernard is making some small progress as well, just some extra points. Just would like to explain the point situation in this race, because some drivers do tend to get confused. There is Igor Koss getting past Dan Jones. Don't think Jones was fighting that too much. The top 4 do not score points. They just go straight through to the A final, where they're obviously guaranteed to score points. But then everyone from 5th downwards will score points, just to make the situation in the championship a little bit more even. But of course, they will score less points in this race than they would have if they got into the A final. Hence why it's probably worth, if you're in the top 4, just take it easy. You're guaranteed to score some decent points. Just it's a couple grid slots, guys. Come on, just finish the race. I mean, admittedly, as a driver who has done this heat format, I can't say I thought that way. To be honest, you know, as a driver, you want to get past everyone in front of you. You want to win everything. But you know, obviously, as a commentator, I've put my sensible hat on, and I can see things for how they probably should be.
Yes, yeah, it's much easier from our position to win the race. Because yeah, we can just tell them to go faster, really, and make less mistakes and do better overtakes. And if they do that, then they'd be very wise to do so. Lauren Zato is going to miss out on the top 4, but P5, I think he will still be happy with, honestly, if he can hold off Bjorklund, because the checker flag is now out, and Makhmutov is going to win this one. What a performance he's had, and he does it from 5th on the grid. Pretty much everyone fell off in front of him, but he drove very, very well to take advantage of it, and he wins out this B final, gets into the A final. So too does Van Hout, McBride, and Frick. Lawrence Arto, best of the rest. Icon Cross with a frustrating first round of the championship. He'll be back for Silverstone International next week. Oh, by the way, we have been reading the comments in the YouTube, and thanks to Artem for commenting, and Fabi letting us know that Bitteroff, who was so strong in qualifying, our pole sitter in the amateurs in qualifying, he had a disconnect. That's why he is down there in 19th position. Oh, this is a run to the line. What's going on here? No, Maldonado's
yeah.
2 laps down. My bad.
2 laps down.
But with
Yeah,
a cleaner
Maldonado.
car, if that's anything that's, to take home with.
Yeah, luckily these Porsches are rear engines, so San Miguel can do as much damage to the front of his car as he wants, and it'll only affect his aero. Nothing too serious, to be honest. But 3 races down, 1 to go, and well, before we do head into the final race, you could call it half-time. As the England match ends into half-time, I believe it's quite fitting, isn't it? It's 1-1 for those curious.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, you know, we don't need to do spoilers. It's 1-1. Who scored the goals? Let's be Gary Lineker for a moment, and because I was saying to Aaron before, I don't care, but I do. You get sucked in, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
It's difficult not to get sucked in. But we currently have a warm-up now of 3 minutes, and it's just a bit of a break for the drivers, and then we'll go into the 18 minutes A final, because obviously some of the drivers have just done Heat 1, then they jumped straight into the B final, and now they've got the A final to come up as well, so it's nice for them to have a small respite to calm down a bit.
Yeah, just a small little break to go to the bathroom, have a drink, or some drivers do use it to just get some extra laps in. You know, the good drivers usually do it to get some extra laps in, but of course I just used it to go on my phone, usually, to be honest, for a few minutes, just to have a little bit of a mental reset. But hey, that's the difference between a good driver and a really good driver, isn't it? They have a lot better mentality than I do. But yeah, it's been some pretty good racing so far, as we expected. It's Porsche Cups. You're never not going to get a good race. And in the feature race, I'm expecting it to be a lot more aggressive. That B final was pretty aggressive, but this next race, I mean, you've got nothing to lose now. There's no next, you know, rounds to qualify for. It's just this, send it, prepare yourself for the weekend, and see how it goes.
Yes, we should see the gloves off, particularly on lap 1. That's going to be the best chance for the drivers, and they will know that lap 1 is how you make up the positions. By the way, of course, this series has got a title sponsor, Apex Racing Academy. And of course, a big thanks to Apex Racing Academy. And if you want to get data packs, which include setups and track guides and even group coaching sessions, provided by Apex Racing Academy, do go to apexracingac.com, and of course those data packs cover the Porsche Cup as well as the GT3 cars and the Formula 3 and the Formula 4 and the Super Formula Lights and the IndyCar and the touring cars.
Pretty much every car.
Pretty much every car, even rallycross cars are covered. So you can check out apexracingac.com, get yourself a bronze, silver or gold subscription and get faster on iRacing. We pretty much all use it over here at Apex Racing TV. Makes racing so much easier on the sim, so we do thoroughly recommend it.
I've just got loads of them stockpiled up from when I did like a bunch of Apex series like years ago. I've got, I think I'm set for the next like 5 years from getting good results. As some of you may be familiar with Marteau, I think he said he's set for the next 10 years. Unsurprisingly,
yeah,
he's won like every series. So, you know, shock.
The GOAT, the ARL GOAT, I think 6 titles, 5 of them in the pros, I think. Oh, he actually won a Pro-Am title in Porsche Cup back in
Porsche
season
Cup, yeah.
4, I think it was. Costa then on pole position ahead of Hammer, White, Farrier, dim below top of the Pro-Ams, Lazarus, Lee, Bowl, Lane, Zavadil, watch out for him, he'll be aiming for top 5 I think from there, Smart, Strand, Pedersen, Swan is the top of the AMS, one of only 2 AMS, Makhmutov in 15th who won the B final, Van Hout, McBride and Frick in 18th place.
Well, this should be a good end to the racing that we've had today, and like we said before, it should be elbows out for these entire 18 minutes. And well, who's going to take the first victory of the season? Who's going to get that bragging rights and the momentum heading into the rest of the season?
Well, I don't think it's going to be Marcel Frick because he's not taken to the grid. So only 17 cars on the grid. Hopefully we'll see Marcel enter the track from the pit lane. But here we go. It's an Impulse Racing 1-2 on the grid. Can they nail their starts as they have been doing throughout tonight? It certainly looks like it's the case. The top 3 rows getting away very well. It's an awful start for Lee. A few rows back from 7th place. He's going to drop outside the top 10. But Costa's done all that he needed to do right there. White will try to attack. Oh, we got a big crash. Many drivers off Farrier and others will be getting damage, even some of the back markers. Some of them doing a brilliant job at managing to avoid and escaping without too much damage. But Frick not taken to the track. Farrier, dim below, and several others, all with major setbacks.
Yeah, that was another big incident that we saw as well. I believe that was Luke Swan, unfortunately. And McBride goes right on past. Now he leads in the amateurs, and well, McBride will be honestly over the moon. He's just gained a few positions, and like you said, everyone just slowed right down before we headed into turn 2, and everyone had to check up brilliantly, I must say. And then Dimbolo spun with his massive suspension damage, and I believe that was Lee as well who had huge suspension damage. He's gone back to the pits. And, well, Dimbolo, one of the favourites in the Pro-Ams, Lee, who was looking fairly speedy in qualifying, well, he's now into the pits and probably won't see the rest of him for this race. Can come back out onto the pits, onto the track if he wants to, but he's going to be over a lap down, unfortunately, for the Chinese driver, as will Dimbolo. I believe Farrier has continued on, but he surely is going to have big damage for the Brazilian. And again, one of the more experienced drivers. I didn't quite see what happened with Farrier. I just think he got caught up in all the midfield action, and turn 1 here can be really awkward on that first lap.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a replay soon of what happened to Farrier and Co. But Costa and Hammer, if they can keep that 1-2, they will be very tricky to beat. White has got to somehow penetrate the absolute lockout that the Impulse Racing team have got. And he is getting very close at the moment, but so far nothing budging against, of course, the man who won the title last season, Makhmutov, who got through from the B finals up into P9. He's lost 3 places there. I think it may have even been a self-mistake at the hairpin, and he's down to 12th, albeit needs to stay positive. He can get back a few of those places with this extended A final length.
Yeah, luckily we've got a fairly longer race than we usually have compared to the heats. 18 minutes, nearly double the length of the heats. Might start to feel the tyres towards the end of the race, but it's still a lot shorter than we're used to. That's Farrier going extremely slowly. And, well, we don't get mechanical failures in iRacing, but we do get mechanical failures in real life, and I wonder if Farrier might be going through some of that right now. As maybe a wheel issue, maybe pedals. Let's see what happens down into this corner. Trying to see his wheel moves. No, he just goes for a spin. Maybe he's just completely given up and just slowly got going again, as he has towed back to the pits now, and that is going to be the end of Farrier's day. Not a good day for Farrier. He did get 2nd place, of course, but I mean, feature 8 is the one where you want to deliver. It's where the most points are on offer for, and Farrier will be kicking himself at an own mistake. We still haven't quite seen what happened to him in turn 1. Would love to get a cheeky replay of what happened to the Brazilian down there. I believe it was contact with some other cars in that midfield pack. But is it going to be a self-inflicted mistake? Let's have a look.
I mean, I don't even know whose fault that is. It's an awful turn. They changed it like 20 years ago. from quite a long radius corner to the shortest radius ever, and made it much worse. And Pedersen, after a brilliant start, Pedersen was like 6 places, I think. And unfortunately, he's the next to loser. I wonder if he's hit the outside curb there. I doubt that's even contact. I reckon he's hit the outside curb and spun into the inside wall. Let's find out what happened to the full Send Motorsport driver.
It looks like he's going to just get the Tony Hawk treatment. Nearly saves it, but just can't quite do it. And his tyres are going to be absolutely finished after that spin. And he's lost a huge chunk of time because of that, of course. And, well, shame for Ben Pedersen. As is this White going for the move on Philip Hammer? Couldn't quite get it done there, but he had a go at least. This is what we're going to start seeing from the American over the next few laps. He has to go for these moves. Is it going to be down into the hairpin, where is probably the best overtaking opportunity on the track, but he's just a little bit too far back to go for the move this time. But he's getting very impatient behind the Impulse Racing driver of Philip Hammer. And, well, he's starting to get a little bit more racy. Very late there. Nearly dipped a wheel onto the grass. And managed to save it there. A little bit tricky there, but good car control from Parker White. But still struggling in 3rd place. He's got a decent gap to his fellow American behind. And Lazarus is kind of in no man's land all by himself. But this could start getting feisty. Parker White is desperate to get ahead of Philip Hammer. And like you said, he does not want it to be an Impulse Racing 1-2. And Philip Hammer is just making this easier for Pascal Costa.
Yeah, he's really helping out Costa right now. The Portuguese driver on course for a perfect score from the opening round of the championship. By the way, if people are watching this and they're thinking, I fancy taking part in this series, you can do. Go over to apexracingleague.com and sign up for the championship, where you can also sign up for the Apex Racing Academy Super Formula Lights Championship, which starts tomorrow. The Apex Racing League GT3 Trophy, that's currently closed but will be reopening very soon, and also the Apex Racing League Abruzzi Endurance 2024 Championship, all available at apexracingleague.com.
Well, I mean, you're going to have a blast of a time if you sign up for this league, as well, we've seen today some pretty good action just up and down the grid. It's been fairly feisty. Couple incidents here and there, of course, but that's just what comes with racing, especially in these types of cars. But it's just starting to settle down now, as we've had a couple incidents. Field's starting to spread out a little bit. I think drivers are starting to show their true pace in this race, possibly being a little bit conservative in the heat races, understandably. But now, you know, you've just got to send it, pushing every single lap, use up every inch of the tread that you can in these Porsche Cup cars, and make the best of every opportunity that comes your way. As you've seen, drivers like Makamutov not necessarily being the quickest, but just making the best of situations around him. Other drivers making mistakes, and, well, he gained 5 places and ended up winning that consolation race, all because he just kept it clean. And could we see something similar happen in this feature race? Got about another 11 minutes to go. A couple battles brewing. Here's Kieran Smart trying to actually attack on Strand, who's in 8th place. Got Boll not too far ahead as well. And, well, this could be some crucial points for the Pro-Am Championship, as Lan is kind of running away with it in 6th place at the moment. But, you know, it's not over until it's over.
Thank you for some of the kind comments from AMS Sprint Cars and Stacey Bertrand about the coverage. Very much appreciate you guys watching along, and of course we hope to see as well Glenn Broughton-Turner and Gordon Marshall, both former drivers in this championship, returning to the series at some point. If you guys are available in the second half of the season, do feel free to sign up. Otherwise, I'm sure we'll see you back in season 12 over the next few months or so. Salvatore Lani on course for the Pro-Am win at the moment. Boll in 2nd place. Then, of course, it's this battle that we were speaking about before. Strand for Racing Lab Esports, ahead of Smart, ahead of Van Hal, ahead of Makamutov in 11th place. And still, McBride likely to win the AMS, albeit only 0.8 of a second clear of Swan, as we move into pretty much the second half of this A final.
It's been a little bit more tame than I thought it'd be, but you know, like I said, with drivers possibly showing their hand, you know, actually their true pace. We're seeing the likes of Pascal Costa. He's absolutely romping away from his teammate right now, but that also could be a little bit of tactics there from Philip Hammer and just trying to hold up Parker White as much as he can. Of course, we will never know the truth unless he comes in for an interview. Then we might be able to ask him. But Pascal Costa definitely looking very, very strong. He's looked strong well throughout all of today. Looked strong during practice, looked strong during qualifying, of course, and in that first race, well, he was cutting it close a couple times with White, of course, but ended up winning nonetheless. And he's looking very, very comfortable right now. But I'm trying not to jinx the man, as you know, it's happened a couple times, and commentating cursing, you know, is one of the worst feelings doing this job. It's genuinely, you start singing praises about a driver, and then 2 corners later, they've towed back to the pits. It's heartbreaking. So Pascal Costa leading. That's the end of it.
Yes, that is the case. Yeah, now 2.1 seconds ahead of the rest. Zavadil just maintaining the gap in that 4th place. He is much closer now compared to what he was after the first lap or so. Remember, Zavadil started down in 10th place for this race, gained 6 places on lap 1 due to the absolute chaos. We might even be able to get a replay or two, maybe, of what happened off the start. I think maybe Lee might be someone to watch out for on lap 1, because there were a couple of bad starts in the midfield. It sort of came to a head at turn 1, and then there was a second bout of instance on the run to turn 2, and then a final one at turn 2 itself. So a lot of drivers were involved in that, and that's why we have Farrier, Dimbolo and Lee all out of the race. Frick did not take the start. He tried to get out on track actually, but I think he had a hardware issue and unfortunately was not able to take to the grid. And well, you can see from that front bumper, Lazarus was definitely involved in some lap 1 instance as well, but he's still running in that P5 despite the lack of top speed he's got, as McBride has had an issue from the lead, but he's back again. So it's just a connection glitching right now for McBride.
Yeah, nearly heart sank there for McBride as he looks fairly comfortable out in the lead, and well, Sam, you're going to have to take the reins on this.
Yeah, Lee off the start, I think he's going to get a lot of wheel spin. Yep, loads of wheel spin. And he keeps on trying to get it down, but once you spin up the wheels once, they overheat, and then it gets harder and harder each time. And you know what? He's just got no rear end whatsoever. And then, to be fair, actually can't. Oh, he gets through it. He actually got through it, Lee. And then how does he get involved afterwards? Oh, he just loses it by himself. He overheats those tyres so much by spinning them up on the start. Gets really lucky to get through it all. Pretty much, like, loses like 4 places before turn 1. Gains them all back because everyone crashes in front of him. And then he loses it by himself. What a frustrating first lap for Lee. And it does just demonstrate how treacherous it can be once you overheat those rear tyres.
Yeah, this car and a couple other cars in iRacing do have that, where if you overheat the tyres, it is extremely difficult to get them back down to temperature again. Another car that I can think of is the Radical SR10. That's notorious for, if you go for a lockup or a spin, you do have to spend the next, lap or 2 just trying desperately to get the tyres to cool back down again, as it really does inhibit your pace by, it could be as much as a 10th or 2, maybe more a lap, as it just allows the tyres to start slipping a little bit more once you overheat them, and it can make the car really, really treacherous to drive. And then, if they're overheated, you start slipping more, you overheat them again, and it's just a vicious cycle. You've just got to somehow get these tyres back down to temperature. And that's the difference between, like I said before, the good and the great drivers. This could be a move from Van Holten, just wasn't brave enough on the brakes to go for a move on Strand in front of him.
Swan tried to get past McBride, by the way, but I think he had a mistake, and that might just be McBride's safe now to win this race. Lee has got back out on second. Well, that is perseverance if I've ever seen it. He is 9 laps down, but he might overtake Farrier if he continues to the line. which would be 1 extra point.
Well, you know, that 1 point could be the make or break at the end of the season. You just never know. And, well, I definitely can talk from experience on that, as, well, I have lost championships before because I, you know, crashed in early parts of a race, but I just didn't want to continue because I was so frustrated. But had I continued, would have won the championship. And that's, you just have to have a good mentality going into a championship like this, and especially when some of these guys are competing for something like PESC. You've just got to get on with it, no matter if you want to or not. If you've crashed, had a bad race, if you can get back out on track, do it. You just do not know what's going to happen over the next few laps. You can pick up a point, couple points, maybe you can get back into the race entirely if you're lucky. You just don't know what can happen, and that's the kind of mentality you need as a championship contender.
Absolutely, and yeah, you could see Lee demonstrate that right there. Still these four very close back. Mutov has caught back up to these guys. It's taking him a while, as Lee does move now ahead of Barrier for 15th. It's taking him a while, Mutov, to catch up, but he is here now. And was able to gain 4 places in the B final. Can he gain 3 places, or 3 more places? I mean, he is already up 4 places, but he was up to 9th earlier on. But made a mistake, as that's not going to help his efforts whatsoever. And he's got a little bit more catching up to do now, because he came within millimeters of Van Hout and has to start catching up again. So still Smart leading this train of cars. Probably the most likely overtake is going to come from this battle that we're watching right now.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you there. Smart holding on to 8th place very nicely at the moment. He's got a decent gap out in front of him, so he can just focus on the track ahead, and hopefully won't be looking in his mirrors too much. But again, as a racing driver, even if a car's, you know, a second or a second and a half behind, you are checking your mirror constantly to see what they're doing, see where they are, what kind of lines they're taking, maybe potentially find out where you're quicker than them. And, well, that's what you've got to do as a racing driver. As here's Van Hout trying to go for another move on Strand. Oh, it's very deep from the Belgian. I don't think he's going to get it done again. He just cannot get on the brakes late enough down into turn 3. Will he be able to do it heading into this next hairpin? He's going to be on the outside. It's a tricky overtake to do, but it's not impossible. He's hanging it around the outside, got nice and deep on the brakes. But I do not think it's going to be enough for the Belgian, as he tries to now go up the inside into this next corner, gets out of shape, and he goes for a spin. You could just see the car slowly starting to spin, and it's one of those awful slow motion spins where it just is so painful as a driver, and he's fallen all the way down to P13 and possibly falling into the clutches of Ben Pedersen over these next few laps.
Well, there was someone else who had an identical incident earlier on, wasn't there? I can't exactly remember who it was off the top of my head, but he's not the first one to make that mistake, and he certainly won't be the last one either. And that is good news for McBride and Swan. Of course, whilst they are battling for position in class, there is some prestige to it. You also get points for your overall position. That is what the points are based on. So first place overall gets, in this race, 80 points, and then second place overall gets the next set of points. So it does absolutely matter for these AMs to beat the Pro-Ams, and the Pro-Ams to beat the Pros, and the AMs to beat the Pros as well. Strands then, probably the last battle on circuit, I reckon. Course second and third still very close, but they have passed any reasonable opportunity to overtake. It is this one which is still the last to be decided, and Strand is doing everything he needs to do for Racing Lab Esports to maintain that 9th place. And the Norwegian ought to be safe from here on in. It is just corner after corner for the rest of the circuit, and very few large braking zones. But in the lead, Pascal Costa has won many a race in this championship in the past. Usually at least gets 1 race win to his name per season, and he's going to get one very early in the books to his name this season, as he takes the championship lead with a perfect 130 points here. And that is some statements from Impulse Racing to get a 1-2 finish. White finishes in 3rd place. Zavadil will be happy with 4th after the disaster during his heat. and it will be Lane top of the Pro-Ams and McBride top of the Ams.
Yeah, that was a lot more calm a race than I thought it was. A lot of gaps opening up there, and definitely drivers pushing a lot harder in that feature race to try and overtake everyone else. But McBride definitely deserving a shout out. Swan nearly getting up there, but just that mistake in the early part of the race definitely cost him that victory in the amateur class. And I definitely do prefer the way that we do the point system in terms of classes, because it does just make more sense. Because, you know, a pro driver can finish first, and then, you know, imagine the second guy in pro finishes 10th, but technically, because they're in the same class, they only scored, you know, 1 or 2 points different. I think it makes a lot more sense to do it by position than by positioning class. Definitely promotes just people to push out and out, and just race everyone, because that's what we're here to do.
Definitely, it pretty much increases the amount of opponents you got by double, doesn't it? So I think it is a very strong thing, and hopefully we'll be able to have a chat with a few of our drivers in a short while. But already we can look at the final results. There is Costa beating Hammer, White in third, Zavadil in fourth, Lazarus with a bit of a quiet fifth there, but good points for him. I think he pretty much maximised that tonight. Lane in a comfortable Pro-Am victory in the end. That is a very competitive field, and he has been able to take early blood, but still a long way to go in order to take that championship. A Bowl in ninth, there was Smart, Strand, Makhmutov, McBride winning in the amateurs ahead of Swan, and then Van Hout, Pedersen, Lee, who got back out on circuit, Farrier, Dimbelow, and Fick unfortunately did not take the start. You wonder where he would have been. I think would have been fighting for the top 10, because he was good in his B final, edged through into the A final, but was not able to take full advantage in the end.
Yeah, this is just a story of what ifs for a lot of these guys. You know, what if Igor Kos, what if Dimbelow, and you know, well, hopefully they can bounce back over the next few races. There's plenty of opportunities here, but some guys mainly just focusing on the weekend. That's the big one, the one everyone wants to win. And well, Pesk always provides some good racing, and definitely looking forward to that this weekend. Mainly also because there's not really anything else going on the weekend, so may as well tune into Pesk, why don't you? But it doesn't look like anyone wants to come talk to us, Sam. A bit disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, we are notoriously horrible people, so I don't totally blame them, but I did put a post in the Discord to say, you know, come have a chat with us, but at the moment we don't have anyone. But let's have a chat about the next round in that case, because it's Silverstone International. Now, Aaron, are you familiar with what layout the international layout is, or are you not familiar? Because I think a lot of our viewers probably aren't familiar with it either.
Well, it's either one or two layouts, because I know the two short Silverstone layout, but is it the one on the old pit straight or the new one?
The new one.
Right, okay, I understand. Okay, that is quite weird. It cuts out probably the best parts of Silverstone, gonna be honest.
You're so right.
I know you miss cops, you miss Maggots and Beckett's, just... Well, I mean, you get Stowe, I guess, but...
You do, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, just a very weird layout choice, to be honest, but, I mean, it should be a fairly short layout, should provide some good racing. It's a lot of straights, of course, barely any corners, to be honest, but I'm looking forward to it purely for the fact it's going to be entertaining. But as a driver, I'd be left a little bit confused.
Well, we'll soon have a chat, or we will have a chat, and maybe get his opinions on the track with Parker White, who joins us now. Parker, welcome. Fantastic to have a chat with you once again. Of course, you took part in this championship a couple of seasons ago. Congratulations out there tonight. I mean, unfortunately, Impulse sort of covered the circuit. Do you think it was qualifying where the meeting was decided, because it looked so tricky to overtake out there?
Yeah, qualifying was very close. I think there was maybe like 9,000s from me to the pole, which is very close qualifying. So I think if I would have got the pole, those impulse cars were very fast, so I don't know if I was going to be able to hold on to the lead, but started third for the feature, and like I said, those impulse cars are very quick, so I don't think there's really anything I could have done. There was one time I was able to get to the inside of Phillip, but they just had so much drive off the corner, I couldn't really compete with that. But yeah, just I feel like it was a big track position game. The draft doesn't seem to really be there because this national A layout doesn't go all the way down to the hairpin, so we don't have as much slipstream. But yeah, just overall race was pretty calm up there at the front. I saw there was a crash there on lap 1 of the feature race, but other than that, I was really just trying to save the tires. I feel like I probably burned the tires off a bit in the feature race, but other than that, it was a really fun race. Fun to compete with those guys up at the front.
Absolutely, and I mean, for yourself, when it comes to the qualifiers, as far as I'm aware, you're automatically booked a spot in the contenders, if I'm correct. So, are you going to be doing the qualifiers anyway to get yourself a bit of prep, or what's your plan for that?
So I'm not going to be doing PESC next year, and if I race in the qualifiers, it automatically invalidates my entry for contenders. So I'm going to be racing this weekend in qualifiers just because I don't plan on being in contenders. So I'm really just in it for fun this year, just trying to have some fun, maybe try to win another championship like last year.
Well, we certainly wish you the best of luck for that one, Parker, and it's awesome to have you back in the championship. Next up, we've got Silverstone International. What are your memories of that circuit from last year?
Yeah, that track is a lot of fun to drive at. I think it's one of my favorite tracks in iRacing behind the Nordschleife. So to go there next week, that's going to be a ton of fun. I just really like the flow of that course, and it reminds me a lot of driving at an oval. As you probably know, I'm pro in the oval side, so always nice to get tracks like that. And yeah, just it is a lot of fun to drive with the Porsche Cup cars, so I'll definitely be looking forward to that next week.
Nice one. Well, really great to have you in the championship, Parker. And well, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, of course. Just have to thank you guys, Apex Racing TV, everyone at Apex Racing League, for putting this league on, giving us all practice for the weekend. And of course, I have to give a thank you to Williams Esports as well.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you back next week, Parker.
Thank you.
That was Parker White there, and yeah, great to have him in the championship, just doing it for a bit of fun this season, and of course looking for a second title. And of course, so far in Porsche Cup, we've had 10 different pro champions, so he would be the first multiple champion if he can take the title this season. Would be quite some achievements. It looks like we might have another interview there, Aaron, but unfortunately Costa decided to leave us. It would have been good to chat with him, because I imagine he's a very happy man.
Yep. Oh no, he's returned. Never mind. So
Hey.
hopefully now we can talk to Pascal Costa. I think he went to try and figure out how to change his name, because in fairness, his username is gibberish to me anyway. But let's track him up nonetheless. I don't think he'll care too much. As Pascal Costa, your absolute perfectionist tonight, getting both race victories in the heat and in the feature race. Pascal, you must be over the moon with that result.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised, to be honest. Yeah, I guess the track and yeah, the new car suits my driving style very well. I felt very good, and yeah. I don't know what happened, but yeah, the lap times were consistent. Yeah, and I didn't throw it away. So
honestly, sometimes that's just good as a driver. Sometimes you don't know why you're quick, but you're quick.
Yeah.
You take the best, you grab the points that you can and you leave and you go to the next round. And well, speaking of, we've got the Silverstone international layout, as me and Sam were discussing. How are you feeling towards that track? It's not popular with me and Sam, but maybe you might like it.
yeah, at first I disliked the new Silverstone a little bit, but after a while I had to practice for it last year, and I guess the year before, and then you get a hang of it, and then you enjoy it, right? At first it is hard work because you don't know, or you don't like the flow. The last sector is very tricky, but yeah, I like it. The short version, I don't know, the double right-hander, I like the S's before the hanger straight, but yeah.
Yes, unfortunately, that's the bit we're missing out on. Me and Sam said, you're missing out on the good bits of Silverstone, which is it just does make sense.
Yeah, it's just great flow. Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't make much sense. But I have to ask, was there a little bit of teamwork going on between you and Hammer today? Was Hammer trying to just hold up White as much as he could so you could kind of just romp away with the win?
No, that came just very naturally. I don't know. We practiced together. He was not on my pace in qualifying. He was surprisingly fast, and then very consistent. And yeah, I think the track helped a little bit, but there was no tactic involved there to hold Parker up. I think the straights are too short to I don't know, to capitalize, and yeah. Maybe he stayed safe and took the points. I don't know.
Either way, it's a good result for Impulse Racing, getting a 1-2. And
yeah, that's a great start.
Yeah, exactly. You guys will be leading the teams championship, and well, I mean, heading into the rest of the season, does this give you a little bit of momentum to try and see if you can fight for this championship?
Yeah, of course. It's a good start. We have a comfortable position right now. And now it just takes practice, being consistent, and maybe try to do the same at Silverstone. It will be very hard, but that would be the next point. And still 5 rounds to see, and everything can happen. You can crash out at start. Yeah, you don't know how it will go, but we hope for the best.
Yeah, you two look extremely quick this season to start off. Getting a 1-2, and well, thank you for joining with us, Pascal, and we're going to let you go enjoy the victory. Well, before we do that, anyone you want to mention or give a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to the team, and shout out to Adam. He knows why. I don't want to mention, but he knows why. And thank you very much for the broadcast, and see you next round.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Pascal, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Pascal Costa there, your winning driver, both in the Heat 1 and the A-Fun and the qualifying as well. If that counts for anything, it was a very impressive qualifying lap for him to be able to take that pole position. But that pretty much rounds us off then for tonight. Of course, there's way more action coming up on the channel over the next few days. We've got the first round of Apex Racing Academy Super Formula Lights on tomorrow. We've got Apex Racing League Endurance on Friday. We've got Racing Unleashed on Sunday. We've got many other series as well. Radicals on Friday evening, and several others. So do make sure to subscribe to Apex Racing TV. You can also watch our June highlights as well, which got posted a little bit earlier on. And of course, do check out the Apex Racing team, Apex Racing TV, and Apex Racing League social medias as well on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Of course, thanks as well to SDK Gaming, Apex Racing Academy, and Apex Racing Simulators, and VRS for supporting us on the channel as well. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Aaron Smith, and from Samuli Kume, we will say goodbye for now, and we'll see you back for round 2 of the championship at Silverstone. See you then.